Can you hear me?
DarkViper AU is a GTA streamer who really has had a lot of issues with the React content that's been online for a while now, especially on YouTube. The funny thing is, I think he is partially right. People aren't understanding his argument very well. I think the reason for that is because he mixes a lot of his arguments within the rhetoric that's already out there, and I think he's just pretty much coming mask off now, making it ultra clear, and people aren't accepting it because it really might come off very unhinged if you really get down to the brass tacks of it. Like his latest main channel video, how YouTube copyright blunder sparked a hate campaign against me.
Let's watch this video. So it's Am I Jealous of Jack's Film's Success with Credit the Creators?
As I have explained to death, this overtly violates fair use law, which surprisingly Chud was willing to admit multiple times in his reaction.
Obviously, you know, I am biased because I do react to things. I, you know, feel I do a fair use job, even though not legally, but ethically, I kind of react to stuff pretty heavily. Because legally, I think that all of them fall under the same issue with, you know, full reacting to the content that exists. Like, if you watch a 30-second TikTok, right? I don't think that's a big deal. And I think ethically or morally, it's not that big crazy a thing. All of them thought you have breached that person's IP and they could legitimately file a DMCA request against you if they wanted to. Same with Asmongold Reacts. Yes, he talks a lot, but it includes the entire video.
Of course, I don't really care that it's illegal. I care more that it is grossly immoral for reasons I have also explained to death. I have no problem with commentary content, people making their own videos that require some use of other people's work for context. In fact, there are even some limited cases where I am okay with reaction content. For example, if you want to react to your own work, or other people's work that you were personally involved in, I am fine.
After all that, Viper claims to object to reaction content based on moral grounds, not even legal grounds. So it makes it seem like the Viper is talking out of both sides of his mouth here, at least to a lot of people. Viper talking about it's the morality of the issue than doing something that a lot of people consider immoral, and a couple different ways, depends on your point of view, really comes off badly. And not a lot of people will think that it's moral or fair or ethical to sort of use the clips of Chud Logic here, as DarkViper did in this introduction of his video. It'll come off as a ad hominem attack that Viper is using to prove to his audience,
or really anyone else willing to take what he says as credible,
that this person here criticizing him isn't even smart enough to actually engage with his argument, which he does a lot. And maybe he's right, but frankly, there's a lot of talking past each other in these discussions I found. I know, taken out of context, has become a meme with Bosch and a couple of other people trying to call other people dishonest and disingenuous, crap like that. But even from this clip, it almost seems like Chud is sort of revealing his bias, because he's a reactor, sort of talking about his thoughts on the subject matter. But given that video is gone now, thanks to Viper here, it'll be hard to actually find the context around that if you actually wanted to look deeper into this. If DarkViper doesn't think that people are understanding him, let's try to understand his argument. First step in trying to figure that out is trying to figure out why Viper here considers React content immoral.
The general shit show between Jay and Hassan added more fuel to my desire to speak formally on the topic, in part because I consider Hassan's business model of content aggregation to conflict with his political stances and to be quite exploitative, as all React content is. Scandals made me very angry, as I considered them both to involve abuses of power and to be representative of a worsening unjust system where those who already have success have more success made easier for them to achieve at every turn, to the detriment of everyone else. I felt satisfied, and I still feel so even now after finding out that there were a few errors that did exist in the document. I had at least done something to attempt to sway public opinion on what I see as the systemic abuse of others. Rolling the dice and hoping to gain growth from drama, especially as an already successful content creator, is just a waste of time. And worse, it ignores the less material realities of this industry. Much of the longevity of a creator on YouTube is determined by how readily they can keep a positive and healthy mental state. If you can't, you burn out and quit. Drama always zaps your energy as you are bombarded with criticism and scrutiny from new people who have no idea who you are. You can see 100 supportive comments, but it's hard to ignore that stranger who tells you to end yourself.
Given the context of this video of Viper here, only really the last point could anywhat apply to Chud Logic in any regard, but he is no Charlie Penguin Zero big boy industry changer being sought out and sucked off by Mama Max. Sorry, have to throw in that reference there. Frankly, I think the key to sort of understanding DarkViper's perspective on all this React content and how he views morality can be found in the one video in the playlist Why React Content Harms Everyone, targeting the one person who didn't actually talk about him. Nakrit, how do creators justify being exploited by reactors? Now, I could do a point-by-point explanation of how I've come to a certain conclusion, but there's actually a comment that does the job much more simply. And given he doesn't really give out too many hearts, this one stands out. Zoe B. Absolutely love the system greater than individual framework for this analysis. Feel this is one of the biggest disconnects when it comes to reaction discourse. And let's be honest, a lot of other discussions about other systemic issues, because yes, if you look at them individually, you're bound to find positive cases. But if you look at the system, systems, a lot of those positive arguments fall apart. It's getting people to think in terms of systems over individuals, and that's the tough part. Now, I noticed a trend in this video about system. So, did a keyword search and came upon this and like, eureka. Really doesn't matter if Viper does political content or not, or video game content. I cracked the code. It's very clearly he's coming from Karl Marx class theory, at least an adaptation of it applied to the YouTube ecosystem. Probably also why Hassan, being such a big hypocrite, triggered the hell out of him. So if it is correct that Viper's using some sort of homebrew version of class theory here, it would make a lot of sense, especially if it comes closer to class reductionism, which, given his black or white thinking, I think it does. It also might explain why he doesn't include really the legal argument, at least in this current video.
Freak he is.
My only interest was whether or not he re-uploaded my video in full. Obviously, I had better things to do with my time. If while watching my video, he had discovered the cure for cancer and whistled the solution out his ass, I still would have struck him, because, as I've made abundantly clear, I find reaction content grossly immoral and harmful to the ecosystem. This is something I have not kept secret. In fact, I've shouted from the rooftops for half a decade, making any other conclusion as to my possible motivations bewilderingly stupid. When I struck the video, my expectation was that it would go through as normal, Chud might be dumb enough to dispute it, which would mean we would go to court, and we could get our first case that would specifically judge watch parties in regards to fair use. The guidelines, and every case related to fair use I'm aware of, suggest you could not use a fair use defense for hosting a watch party of a copyrighted work. But most people seem unaware of this, so maybe this was a chance for people to be informed.
I think I get it. I really think I get it. Why his claim didn't go through. He literally put it in the system as a watch party. I don't know if that's correct or not, but if I'm understanding this right, it's just fucking hilarious. I don't know how he came up with this idea. Maybe talking to lawyers gave him this little idea. Maybe I'm incorrect on all this. By redefining React content as a watch party, he's got his golden ticket to go in there, and that's probably what fucked his DMCA up. I mean, I can't say that's correct, but if that is the case, that's just insane. I really have to wonder if DarkViper is a fan of George Orwell. And it's very clear the Viper doesn't care about the purpose or even the outcome of any of Logic's reactions. If you're not part of the solution, you're the problem. And this is an excellent chance to bait someone into fighting a claim and getting in that court. Because it's very clear from this, Viper is more than willing to try to get YouTube to enforce his strict sense of morality, or at least Chud Logic at the very minimum. I'm sure there's something else that set off this man. DarkViper's seeing it as win-win either way. He either takes it down or he takes it to court. In that case, he can take Chud to the courtroom, try to use this absurd redefinition of what Chud does on his streams as a watch party, which frankly, if you had a good enough lawyer, maybe you could pass that bullshit along. I'm not sure how good of a lawyer DarkViper has, given some of the other things he said about the lawyer. If he can get in, somehow convince them with this redefinition, and win the case, he would have legal precedent to make it very difficult to do any sort of React content on YouTube. Now, for those of you out there who are wondering why would he do something so insane? Because Viper does not care about the individual, unless it's himself, but rather what he believes is in the best interest of the collective, even if almost no one on YouTube freaking agrees with him. Now, I don't know if it's arrogance or ignorance that has Viper continue to call Chud Logic's reaction to his video that was about React content a watch party.
Past, he's made his arguments about React streamers that will put on a piece of long form content and then go to the washroom or go eat lunch while it's playing instead of reacting to it actively. And you know what? At some times, I can say it's fair, but that's objectively not what happened with Chud Logic, who watched a 9-minute video over the course of a 45-minute clip.
I also remember him using a comparison of Lord of the Rings about the copyright thing. Again, talking both sides of your mouth, moving the goalpost, in my personal opinion, and a lot of other people's opinion, given how this sort of discussion is going down. More like talking out both sides of your mouth and your ass at the same time. Even had one of his little fanboys, at least I assume, reiterate that same exact point, put up the tweet. Why don't reactors just do what they do with other YouTube content with Lord of the Rings? Because movie companies have the time and money to take you to court, copyright infringement, which an average content creator cannot. You're pretending to not get the point. No, I think I get very well. Come on, at least use a different example than Viper did, you lazy NPC. I get the point. Viper wants people to treat his rambles, little bit of bullshit for me, as if they come even close to the value of Lord of the Rings. He doesn't care about the people's opinion on the subject matter and is willing to sue someone to get his way. And I believe that to be the truth. The underlying factor is, drumroll please, because he's a delusional class reductionist. And yes, I know that is a derogatory term for people who sort of get into the Karl Marx class struggles, conflict theory that no one wants to hear me explain. But it's very clear he uses a sort of Marxist framework. Does it mean he's a commie? No. Just means he uses a theory within content creation on YouTube that is very Marxist-like. I really want to call this critical game theory, but I don't really know if that really applies. Hell, maybe if DarkViper's video was worthy, actually entertaining on its own, I might give him some credit to the level of even a sixth of the Lord of the Rings. I might give his argument a little bit of credence, but it's just him rambling on. So calling what Chud did what most reactors do, not all. Some are really fucking lazy. Let me make that clear. But in the case of Chud and other people who do this sort of thing, they don't watch the whole thing to try to replace its market value. They do it so they are certain they didn't take anyone out of context. Something I'm sure DarkViper is perfectly fine with, given how he clips some of his sort of clips that he uses in his video here. Personally, I can see this sort of redefinition of watch party that DarkViper wants to pass along the legal lines actually being hook, line, sinker by a certain judge at a certain district by a certain lawyer, depending on the circumstances. Does it make it morally or ethical right to sort of twist the meaning of the term? I don't think it does. Is it okay to do something immoral or unethical to correct something that really only you perceive as immoral and unethical? I don't think it does. Because frankly, the video that Viper made wasn't for entertainment. That was for educational purposes. At least that's my impression of it. Did he really not think that people who did react content wouldn't react to this? Or was it bait? Was he hoping they would so he could try to get this process going along? I'm not going to pretend like I know. I just know Viper pretends like he has some sort of authority on this, or his lawyer told him so much about that. And on that subject matter, in this particular video here,
to try to get information out of them, and lacking any evidence I was not just getting automated responses, I asked openly admitted their guilt. Despite this, I had no luck poking YouTube with a stick to try to get information out of them, and lacking any evidence I was not just getting automated responses, I asked my accountant who works with a lot of high-profile creators if they knew any lawyers who do the same. I was referred to someone, and I got into contact with these people. It is important to understand that these conversations were happening in normal people time, not internet time. It took 2 weeks just to get a lawyer and explain to them the situation. In fact, while making this video, my lawyer called me to state that they watched Chud's recent livestream that covered his video getting taken down. They did this largely as a formality to assess potential impact to their firm. To loosely quote their assessment, "What an absolute moron." It is shocking that someone can openly on one hand admit that he knows nothing about the law and legal procedures, yet also confidently assert as true things that even a child should know are wrong. They further reiterated that I could sue him for obvious defamation, which again I expressed I have no intention of doing. Chud does not even have enough money to cover my potential legal fees.
I'm pretty sure that's bullshit. I'm pretty sure Chud Logic did not call what he was doing a watch party. If he did, he's the dumbest motherfucker out there. But I'm just thinking you're twisting the truth because you're a viper and vipers are snakes. A dark one at that. Does that give him the impasse, I wonder? That would save him some trouble, I'm sure. Did anyone else watching this notice the sort of veiled threat that the snake slipped in there? Sorry, Viper. But of course he wouldn't. He's too moral. He's too rich. Why would he even bother with these poor peasants? It sort of conflicts with the sort of Marxist idea, unless you want to sort of hide the ball. Or if you talk out of both sides of your mouth, that is, and probably even ass in this particular case here. Is this a bait to try to get the commentary community to come at him hard? Try to encourage Chud Logic or maybe someone else to fight one of these claims so DarkViper can take him to court and lay out his completely insane redefinition of the word watch party for everyone. Is he even being honest with the fact that this is what the lawyer told him? Even if the lawyer told them that, lawyers are absolute snakes too. Also, the fact that DarkViper here wants to, say Chud is still crying. No, he's making content where he can. You just don't understand that content because you have carefully crafted, edited YouTube videos. And sure, you do live streams. Hell, you even debated Destiny one time 3 years ago. Does that still happen? Do people want to deal with your autistic bullshit? Maybe. Frankly, I don't even know if I should even go over the rest. I think it's pretty clear his intent with this. And just to cover my ass legally, I cannot be certain any of these claims or impression of DarkViper are 100% accurate or true. I never claim my words to be gospel, as DarkViper tends to sort of frame what he talks about. But frankly, I believe in the marketplace of ideas and the social contract. And I'm sort of doubting someone like DarkViper who really comes off as a class reductionist, which, to be clear, don't know for sure that he is it. He just has all the signs of that. Rules for me, not for thee. No bad tactics, only bad targets. On a closing note, in his latest sort of Viper Rambles video, Why I Lost Respect for the Willie Mac Show, which is simply a very laughable video about him leaking DMs, then about being confused. I found one particular little thing very funny to end this video off on.
His content represented that he was willing to go to some effort in making these videos. And there are obviously a lot of channels that make similar content to this that clearly aren't willing to go that kind of effort. So I've watched some of these videos in the past, and honestly, some that I probably shouldn't have watched. Like, I don't really care about Vosh. I don't really care about this. I don't think I end up watching this Kevil's video. Just YouTube fucks up sometimes. Regardless, I have seen.
Really, YouTube fucks up sometimes. Let's just take a look at that red bar. It looks like he watched all of it. Seems like the only one he missed was the latest Hassan one, latest Mama Max one. Obviously, this one bored him with that little red going, but you have red all down the line. Only watched half of this one. Interesting. But remember, YouTube fucks up. You know who also fucks up and never takes any of the criticism on the chin? DarkViper. Yeah, he'll admit he didn't clearly explain his points clearly enough. Or maybe it came out wrong because he was angry and irritated to being wrong on anything. Frankly, the reason I think, this is speculation, just for you out there, lawyer, in case you're watching this, that DarkViper is a fan of both Keppels and Voshtel. Yes, Hassan crossed the line in his book, but I guess those two didn't, somehow. And with that said, I'm done.